Have you ever opened your eyes in the morning and felt the heavy quiet of a house that holds only you? No voice calling out for coffee. No footsteps down the hall. Just you, the ticking clock, and the slow awareness that the day ahead is yours, completely, silently, and maybe even painfully so. This isn't a fantasy of peace and solitude. This is real life after 70, after 80, when the world grows quieter and the faces around you begin to fade away. Whether it's from the loss of a spouse, children moving far away, or simply the natural progression of time, many older adults find themselves suddenly deeply alone. And the truth is, very few people talk about it. But today, we're going to talk about it. Because living alone doesn't have to mean living without meaning. It doesn't have to mean sadness or silence. In fact, with the right tools, the right habits, and a little bit of heart, this chapter of life can become one of the richest, most peaceful, and most powerful. So in this video, we're going to explore 4 deeply important things every older person must do when they find themselves living alone. These are not just feel-good tips. These are grounded in the real experiences of people who've lived through the storm and found peace on the other side. Each point will come with a story. Stories you might see yourself in. Stories that don't sugarcoat the truth, but also don't leave you hopeless. Before we begin, if you're here right now, I want to ask you to do 3 simple things. 1. Hit the like button if you believe that aging with dignity and strength matters. 2. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications because we're building a community that speaks honestly and gently about the things others avoid. 3. And most importantly, leave a comment below. Tell us your story. Are you living alone now? What has been your biggest challenge or your greatest surprise? Your words matter here, and you never know who else may read your comment and feel just a little less alone. All right, now let's begin. 1. Stick to a simple routine. There's a certain silence that comes with old age. It creeps in slowly, not just into the house, but into your sense of time. Without someone beside you, without regular conversations, without appointments or events on the calendar, the hours melt together. You may wake up at 9, or maybe it's closer to noon. You make tea, forget to eat lunch, and find yourself staring out the window by early evening, unsure where the day went. And in that stillness, the mind can start to drift into confusion, sadness, even fear. That's why when you're growing old and are left alone, one of the most powerful things you can do is to stick to a simple routine. Not a rigid schedule, not a checklist of chores, just a gentle rhythm that reminds your body and brain that time still matters, that you still matter. It could start with something as small as opening your windows every morning, making your bed even if no one else will see it, changing out of your night clothes, fixing yourself a warm, nutritious breakfast, not a snack, not leftovers, a real meal made with intention. These small rituals act like anchors. They pull you back into the present. They give your day shape. There's an old man I once met, Mr. Amos. He lost his wife of 52 years and suddenly found himself completely alone in their modest home. The grief hit him hard, but what really knocked him over was the shapelessness of his days. He said it felt like living inside a fog. His doctor gently suggested he start writing down 3 things to do each day. Make the bed, take a walk to the gate, boil yam or rice for dinner. That was it. Simple, doable, personal. Within a few weeks, the fog began to lift. The routine didn't take away the grief, but it gave his mind and body something to trust. Science backs this up. Studies have shown that older adults who follow a basic daily rhythm experience less anxiety, better sleep, and improved memory. It helps regulate your internal clock, which can easily fall out of sync without social interaction. That means when you eat at the same times, sleep at similar hours, and include just a bit of structure in your day, your brain actually feels safer, calmer, less lost. You don't need to fill every hour. In fact, you shouldn't, but the quiet moments in between feel more peaceful when they're framed by routine. Light a candle after dinner. Take 5 minutes to stretch your back every morning. Call your sister on Thursdays. Watch your favorite show at the same hour each evening. These aren't chores. They're the gentle beats of a life still being lived with care. So if you found yourself alone after so many years of shared noise and movement, don't let your days unravel. Weave them together, thread by thread. A small routine is not a cage. It's a lifeline. One that keeps you connected to the flow of life, no matter how quiet your house becomes. 2. Move a little every day. When you're living alone in your older years, one of the sneakiest dangers isn't just loneliness, it's stillness. The kind that creeps in quietly. You wake up, sit for breakfast, maybe do a few small things around the house, then before you know it, the day has passed and your body hasn't really moved. Not the kind of movement that keeps your joints working, your heart strong, and your mind alert. Just quiet, persistent stillness. Over time, this kind of life doesn't just affect your body, it begins to wear on your spirit. But here's the good news. You don't need to run marathons, join a gym, or sign up for yoga classes to stay strong. You just need to move a little every day. That's it. Gentle, regular movement. Nothing fancy, nothing painful. Just enough to remind your body that it's still needed, that you're still here. Let me tell you about Auntie Ruth. She's 84, widowed, and lives alone in a small flat near the edge of town. For months after her husband passed, she didn't leave the house unless it was for groceries or a doctor's visit. She said everything felt heavy. Not just her emotions, but her legs, her arms, even her breath. One morning, she told herself, "I'll just walk to the front gate and back." That was it. Not even 20 steps. The next day she did it again, this time with a scarf on her head and the sun warming her back. Within a week, she was walking down to the mailbox. A month later, she was strolling around the block, waving to neighbors, breathing easier. It didn't change her situation, but it changed how she felt inside it. Science backs this up too. Gentle movement, like stretching, walking, or even slow dancing in your living room, has been shown to reduce symptoms of depression, improve brain function, and boost longevity in seniors. Movement sends oxygen to the brain, loosens stiff joints, and releases chemicals that help regulate mood and energy. You might not think walking to the kitchen and back matters, but it does. Standing up and sitting down 10 times from your chair, that's strength training. Reaching for a book on the shelf, bending to water a plant, or sweeping your front step, it all counts. It all builds a kind of quiet resilience. And just as importantly, it gives your day rhythm. A reason to open the door. A chance to feel the weather on your face or hear the wind in the trees. It pulls you back into the world, even if just a little. So if you've been feeling stuck, tired, or achy, start small. Move a little every day. Not for anyone else, just for you, for your body, your spirit, your sense of self. Because as long as you can move, even a little, you are still writing your story, one step at a time. 3. Stay in touch with others. There's a certain kind of silence that doesn't come from peace. It comes from absence. And as we grow older and find ourselves more alone than ever before, that silence can settle into the walls, into our bones, into the space where voices once lived. It's the kind of quiet that no television can fix. It's the kind of quiet that makes the heart feel heavier, even when the room is still. But staying connected in old age doesn't mean you have to host dinner parties or keep up with dozens of friends. It means finding ways to keep your soul in conversation with the world, even in the simplest, smallest ways. Take Mr. John, 87, whose children had long moved to other states and whose wife passed nearly 10 years ago. For months, he barely spoke to anyone, unless it was a doctor or cashier. He said he felt like his voice was forgetting how to sound like itself. One day, while watering his plants, he saw the neighbor's young son kick a ball into his yard. Instead of just tossing it back, Mr. John smiled and asked the boy his name. That one question turned into 2 minutes of chatting. The next week, the boy's mother waved from across the fence. A few weeks later, Mr. John was invited over for tea and chin-chin. It wasn't dramatic, but it was real. A thread of connection he hadn't felt in years. You see, human beings don't need crowds to feel whole. We just need reminders that we still matter, that we're still seen, that we're still welcome in the world. Studies have shown that older adults who maintain even light social contact, 1 or 2 interactions a week, experience lower rates of depression, sharper memory retention, and longer lifespans. It's not about quantity, it's about quality and consistency. That means a 5-minute phone call every Wednesday. A wave to the street vendor you pass on your morning walk. Sitting beside someone at church or mosque, even if no words are spoken. These aren't just social acts. They're emotional nourishment. And if the people you once relied on have grown distant or too busy, that doesn't mean connection is out of reach. There are senior groups that meet at libraries. There are youth programs that would treasure your wisdom. There are people in your own building or street who are just as alone and unsure how to begin. Someone has to go first. Why not you? And don't overlook the power of giving. Sometimes connection grows not when we ask for company, but when we offer it. Check in on someone. Share a recipe. Write a letter to someone who's grieving. These little acts don't just build bridges. They remind you that you're still a builder. When you stay in touch with others, you're not just filling the air with conversation. You're keeping your spirit from curling inward. You're keeping the part of you that laughs, listens, and loves alive. And in a world that may feel more distant than it once was, that kind of aliveness is worth holding on to with both hands. The 4. Find a reason to wake up each day. One of the quietest dangers of growing old alone isn't the silence or the aches. It's the slow fading of purpose. You might not even notice it at first. The house gets quieter. The phone rings less. You wake up without any particular plan for the day, and before you know it, the hours start blending into each other. You eat because it's time. You sleep because you're tired, but there's no spark, nothing calling you forward. That's why having a purpose, no matter how small, is one of the most important things you can give yourself. Now, don't get me wrong. Purpose doesn't have to mean a job or a big life mission. It doesn't have to be something loud or impressive. It just needs to be something that gets you out of bed in the morning. Something that brings a little light into your spirit, even if no one else sees it. Maybe it's taking care of your garden, watching those tiny green shoots reach toward the sky each morning. Maybe it's writing down family memories so your grandchildren will know where they came from. Maybe it's learning to cook that one dish you've always loved but never dared to try. Or maybe it's simply checking in on someone else, calling a neighbor, feeding a stray cat, volunteering at a nearby church, or keeping your hands busy with a craft you once enjoyed. The point isn't what it is, it's why it matters to you. There's an old man named Baba Idris I met years ago in Jos. He lost his wife to illness and his children had all moved abroad. The loneliness, he said, nearly swallowed him. But one day, while cleaning out his shed, he found his old camera. Dusty, forgotten. He'd loved photography in his youth. That same week, he began walking around his village every morning, capturing daily life. The fruit seller, the children walking to school, the old mechanic still tinkering with bicycles. Over time, people started looking for him, posing with pride. It gave him purpose, something to anticipate, something that made him feel part of life again. He wasn't just surviving anymore, he was creating. Purpose gives weight to your days. It helps time feel like it's moving forward rather than standing still. It softens loneliness because when you're doing something meaningful, you're no longer focused on what's missing. You're connected to your heart, to your past, and to the world in a way that feels deeply human. And here's the most beautiful part. Being alone actually gives you more room to discover that purpose. No distractions, no expectations, just you and your own rhythm, figuring out what still makes you feel alive. So ask yourself gently, what can I wake up for tomorrow? Is it a memory you want to preserve? A plant you want to water? A story you want to write down? Your answer doesn't need to impress anyone. It just needs to matter to you. Because when you find a reason to wake up each day, you don't just fill the silence, you nourish your soul. Growing old alone is not something most people prepare for. It creeps in slowly. A missing chair at the table, a phone that rings less often, a day that passes without anyone calling your name. And before you know it, you're left staring at your own reflection in the silence, wondering what to do with all this time, all this space, all this quiet. But here's the truth, and I hope you take this to heart. Being alone doesn't mean your life is over. It doesn't mean joy is done with you or that purpose has run out. It just means the path ahead looks different. And different can still be beautiful. If you can stick to a simple routine, you give your days shape. If you move a little every day, you remind your body it still matters. If you stay in touch with others, even gently, you keep your heart from going numb. And if you find a reason to wake up each day, something that lights even a tiny fire in your spirit, then you're not just surviving, you're still living. Fully. quietly, meaningfully. Aging doesn't have to be the slow fading of your story. It can be the beginning of a quieter chapter, one that's filled with reflection, self-care, and deep, lasting peace. And no, it might not look like the life you once had, but it can still be your life, full of small victories, quiet joy, and the kind of strength that isn't loud but deeply rooted. So now I want to ask you, which of these 4 habits do you already practice? Which one will you try this week? Leave a comment below. I truly want to hear your thoughts, your stories, your routines, your daily joys. They matter, and they might just help someone else watching this video feel a little less alone. If you found any comfort or insight today, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with someone who might need it. There are so many of us navigating this same road, and the more we talk about it, the more light we bring to each other's paths. Thank you for spending this time with me. I see you, I respect you, and I believe that no matter your age, you still have something beautiful to offer the world, even if it's just the quiet grace of your presence. Until next time, take care of yourself. You deserve it.